In 1950, one paycheck fed a family of 6, covered the rent, and still left a little something inside the coffee can. Today, 2 paychecks do not stretch that far, and number 1 on this list is not a money trick at all. It is the thing that made the other 24 work. I spent weeks in old family account books, church ledgers, and more than 200 first-hand accounts. Number 9 paid the rent with a piano and a quarter at the door. Number 5 was something Dr. King asked for out loud, 3 days before he died. You think our people struggled because they were poor, but we were never poor. We were our own bank, and the day we forgot how, somebody else came out ahead. Friday evening, the money came into the house. Not much, just enough. But before a single penny got spent, that money already had somewhere to be. Every dollar knew where it was going. Today they tell us we need an app and an expert. Our people did it with an envelope and a coffee can. Let's start there. It all started with the envelopes. One for the rent, one for the food, one for the church, and one that hardly ever got touched, the burial envelope. The money got divided the same day it came in, while it was still warm in your hand. When an envelope was empty, that was it. There was no more. And here's what almost nobody tells you. That thing the advisors sell today as the hot new method, the cash envelope budget, our mothers were already doing at the kitchen table and never charged a soul. Bring it back this week. 1 envelope and leave the card alone until Friday. But the envelopes only held what you could see. Some of that money disappeared inside the house, and only one person knew where. You remember it. The coffee can, empty of coffee and full of coins, behind the flour. The folded bill tucked between the pages of the Bible. They say some grandmothers had money stashed in 3 or 4 spots, and only they knew the map. It was a rule. What nobody sees, nobody can take. And that cash cushion, the one the experts now call an emergency fund, was living in a can long before it had a fancy name. They trusted themselves over the bank, and when they did use it, they went once a year, in December, and walked out with the whole year's savings at once. Every week they put a fixed amount into a savings club, $1, sometimes just coins. The very first of these clubs, back in 1909, let you start with a penny a week. And come December, they pulled it all out at once. For Christmas. No debt, no surprises. A Christmas paid for before it arrived. That habit is all but gone. But look at when it died. Right when the credit card showed up and taught us the opposite. Spend first, pay later, with interest. It suited the bank better to lend you money for December than hold yours all year. Want it back? Open a separate savings account. Send it a few dollars every week, and don't touch it till December. That was the first trick they buried, and every one of them answered to a single rule that governed the whole house. The golden rule fit in 5 words. If you don't have it, you don't buy it. You paid cash, and you slept easy. It sounded strict, but it meant one thing that's worth gold today. Nobody owned your name. Nobody charged you a fee just to breathe. A family that owed nothing was a free family, and that freedom never shows up on a bank statement. This month, pick one thing you were going to finance and pay it in full, in cash, or don't buy it at all. But what about when you needed something big, a winter coat, a sewing machine, and couldn't cover it all at once? That's where the set-aside came in. The store held the coat, your name written by hand on a little tag, and you paid it down bit by bit. The day you finished, you took it home, yours, paid for, owing nothing. Look close. That thing coming back today, dressed up as buy now, pay later, with its fine print and its fees, is layaway turned inside out. They hand you the thing first and charge you for the wait. Our people had the honest version. You paid before. You didn't owe after. They flipped the order and charged you for the flip. That's how the little money got saved and spent. The question is how it got stretched. And it started with an animal that didn't lose a single piece. Nothing went to waste. The ears, the feet, the tail, the belly, and the intestines, the South called chitlins. All of it cooked for hours, with salt, onion, and garlic, till the smell filled the whole house on a Sunday afternoon. And here's the vindication. That thing famous chefs now call nose-to-tail cooking and charge good money for in fancy restaurants. Our grandmothers did it out of respect, because you don't waste what it cost to raise. It wasn't a trend. It was wisdom. Save the chicken bones from this week and boil a broth with them. That's where it begins. But the hog was only the start. What truly amazes isn't what they saved. It's what they created out of what nobody else wanted. Here's the miracle we forget. They gave us what nobody wanted. The cast-off parts, the wild greens, the ground corn, and out of it, we built a kitchen the whole world now hunts for. The historian who studied it said it plain. The easy story is poverty food, but the truth is it became celebration food. We turned the leftovers into something that tasted like home, like Sunday. That's not poverty. That's alchemy. But for that miracle to last the whole year, even in January, when nothing grew outside, you had to lock it away in glass. In summer, when the garden gave more than enough, nothing was lost. They filled the glass jars, tomato, green bean, peach, pickle, and lined them up in the cellar, glinting like jewels in the dark. They cured and smoked the meat, pickled what was left. So come January, the pantry stayed full while the world outside was bare. A good cook could read the whole year in her cellar shelves. Today, we pay to eat seasonal like it's new, but the jars held what came from the garden. Inside the kitchen there was a stricter rule, and it lived in a can beside the stove that never got thrown out. The grease can lived right next to the fire. Every drop of fat was saved to fry with again, tomorrow. The bones got boiled for broth. The stale bread became pudding. Sunday's leftovers were Monday's lunch. In that house, throwing out food was almost a sin. And it wasn't stinginess. It was memory. Somebody who'd once gone hungry doesn't let a single bone leave the kitchen with anything left in it. Today, the world rediscovers that and calls it zero waste. We called it Tuesday. Don't throw out tonight's leftovers. Give them a second life tomorrow. But stretching food had a twin rule, and it governed everything else that came through the door. It sounds backwards, but it was smart. Better one good coat that lasts 10 winters than 3 cheap ones that fall apart in one. A pair of leather shoes, resoled, patched, handed down from one brother to the next. You bought less, but you bought well. That house understood something that slips away from us between the bargains and the sales. Cheap, bought twice, ends up expensive. So you save for the good thing, cared for it, and handed it down. But saving and stretching had a ceiling. Sometimes you simply had to bring more money into the house. And on a Friday afternoon, a smell crossed the neighborhood that was, quite literally, money. Friday afternoon, the smell of fish frying drifted down the whole street, and that smell was business. Families took orders through the week and sold plates of fried fish on the weekend. The money went to the church fund or carried the household to month's end. In the late 60s and into the 70s, fried fish was a money machine. The second folks caught that smell, it sold itself. You didn't advertise. The aroma did the work. A skillet, cornmeal, and fresh whiting brought in what a paycheck couldn't. But not all the business was in the kitchen. Right there, in that same kitchen, was a chair that gave rise to the first woman in this country to make herself a millionaire. The chair by the stove, the hot comb heating up, the smell of oil and fresh pressed hair. In thousands of kitchens, one woman did half the neighborhood's hair and earned money that was hers. Out of that came one of our greatest stories, Madam C.J. Walker, a daughter of sharecroppers who started as a washerwoman and built an empire of black hair care products, becoming the first woman in this country to make herself a millionaire on her own. She started right there, in a kitchen, with her hands. That chair wasn't just a chair, it was independence. And it wasn't the only trade that came through the door. Another one left on Monday and came back Saturday, pressed and smelling of starch. The washerwoman picked up the clothes Monday and brought them back Saturday, pressed, folded, smelling of sunshine. The seamstress turned worn collars so a shirt could live another year. The hum of the singer machine was the sound of a house making its way. Hard, quiet work, with cracked hands. But every pressed garment was $1 coming in without asking anybody's permission. And those dollars held whole families together. Even so, one piece was still missing, and it was out in the backyard. A bank that charged no fees. One plenty of folks called a bank with legs. Out back there was a bank the land paid all by itself. A garden of collard greens, tomatoes, and sweet potato cut the grocery bill in half. A few hens gave eggs to sell to the neighbor women. And the hog in the yard was, as they used to say, a bank with legs. You fed it scraps all year, and come winter it gave you back meat for months. But the real secret wasn't the land or the skillet. It was that nobody, whether young or old, ate for free. Nobody was too young or too old to pitch in. The child ran errands for coins. Grandma sewed. The father chained a second shift onto the first. The mother sold her plates. Every hand brought a little, and that little, under one roof, became enough. They didn't lean on just one paycheck that could vanish overnight. They leaned on everybody. Today they call it multiple streams of income. Our people called it family. And the day that same idea, pooling the little bit of many, jumped from house to street, something was born that economists study in universities today. A group of neighbors or of church women put in the same amount every week to a common pot. And by turns, each one took the whole pot home. No paperwork, no interest, no bank. Just your word and the trust of knowing who you are. We brought it from Africa. Over there they call it susu, which means beautifully, little by little. And here's the vindication. Today's economists study that system and call it a sophisticated financial structure with rules and trust built in. Our grandmothers were already running it in the kitchen on a Thursday afternoon. We didn't learn to handle money in this country. We brought it with us. Get 3 or 4 people you trust and try a hand. It works just as well today. But when the common pot fell short and the landlord came knocking, the community answered with the one thing nobody could take from it, and it charged a quarter at the door. When the rent squeezed, you didn't beg. You threw a party, rolled up the rug, dimmed the lights with colored bulbs, sat a piano player down, and sold fried chicken, pork chops, and pig's feet for a few cents in the kitchen. Admission was about 25 cents. And with what came in that night, the rent was paid on the first. In those cities, our people were charged as much as a third more rent than everybody else for the very same walls. So they answered with the one thing nobody could take from them: joy. Out of those smoke-filled rooms came a style of piano, the Harlem Stride, that changed music forever. Fats Waller and James P. Johnson played it. They turned injustice into a party, and the party into a paid receipt. But not all the help was for the living. There was a fear bigger than the rent, and for that too, there was a system. There was a fear heavier than almost any other: to die and leave nothing to be buried with, and burden the family. So the community organized. Each member put in a small due, and when the loss came, there was enough to give their people a decent goodbye. This isn't legend. There were clubs with names and ledgers, like the Home Benefit Burial Club, that buried their own with what everybody put in. Nobody buried their own alone. It was life insurance, before the word existed, made of neighbors, not companies. And that same net, the one about looking after each other, had its heart in a single building in the neighborhood. The Sunday collection wasn't only for the roof and the candles. A part was set aside for whoever fell: the neighbor who got sick, the widow who came up short on the rent, the family whose kitchen burned. The church was the neighborhood's safety net before anybody used those words. You gave when you could, knowing that if your day came, the hand would be there. No forms to fill out. Belonging was enough. And out of that same trust came the cleanest loan that ever was, neighbor to neighbor, without a single signed paper. When a neighbor came up short, another one lent to him, and it never crossed his mind to charge for it. The collateral wasn't your credit score. It was your name, your word, your face known at church on Sunday. That moved money all over the neighborhood without a single bank touching a penny, because it was made of something no bank can lend: trust. With all that money moving among us, the day came when we did the unthinkable. We opened the door the banks kept slamming in our faces. When the banks shut us out, we opened our own. In 1934, there were more than 100 black banks. Only 9 survived the Great Depression, but they survived. By the mid-70s, there were around 50 standing again. Dr. King, in his last speech, 3 days before he died, didn't only talk about dreams. He asked for something concrete. Take your money out of the downtown banks and put it in the city's black bank, the Tri-State Bank. He called it a bank in because money, moving among us, was power. Very few are left today, and that was no accident. When a black bank closes, a neighborhood loses its door to a fair loan. If you can, open an account at a black-owned bank or credit union. That gesture still moves power. That's why this is the number they'd most like you to forget. But a bank of our own was only the means. The end was a sheet of paper in a drawer with a name on it. Yours. The dream wasn't to spend. It was to own. To finish paying off the house. To have the deed in a drawer with your family name on it. A piece of land nobody could take from you. There were those who fought all the way to Congress, like Charles Cohee, who pressed for the 40 acres promised to the freedmen. Out of that fight, whole neighborhoods rose up, like the Greenwood of Oklahoma, they called Black Wall Street. Because land doesn't get spent, break, or expire. Land gets handed down. Every mortgage payment wasn't an expense. It was a brick in something meant to outlast you. And what got built had to be added to. What one person couldn't reach, many together could. What one couldn't do, many together could. After emancipation, our people pooled their money to buy what none of them could reach alone. A tractor, a plot of land, grain for everybody. It was pure cooperation. Your dollar and my dollar, which alone were nothing, together moved mountains. Today, they call it a co-op and give it a fancy name. We called it helping each other. And all that effort, the land, the bank, the joint buying, pointed at protecting one single person, the one who'd be left the day you were gone. Nobody wanted to leave their family out in the cold, so you save for the after, the small policy, the burial fund, the envelope never touched. The idea was simple and enormous. The day I'm gone, mine don't fall. My absence ruins no one. That wasn't fear of death. It was love in the shape of foresight. A father setting aside a few dollars a month for a policy was saying the thing that generation almost never said out loud. When I'm gone, I'll still be taking care of you. And that brings us to the one thing that made the other 24 mean anything. Because number one isn't a trick. They taught it to the children. None of this was worth anything if it died with grandma. So the child sat at the table on Friday evening and watched the money get divided into the envelopes. He learned why the burial one did not get touched. He helped fill the jars. He heard where the hand came from. It was not a class. It was life, passing from one set of hands to another. Think about that, and you will understand why the other 24 worked. Everyone got handed down in the kitchen, one generation to the next, like a recipe or a last name. And here is what truly got lost. The need did not change. The ingenuity did not either. What stopped happening was the handing down. One day, we stopped sitting the child at the table on payday. And in a single generation, 25 ways of owning our own money went quiet. We did not turn poor. We stopped passing the map. So teach one of these things to a child this week. That is the one that saves them all. Somebody in your family did this. Maybe not all 25, but somebody saved coins in a can, set a coat aside on layaway, or put their share in the hand. That knowledge didn't die. It went quiet. And here's what surprised me most of all. Handling money on one paycheck was only one of the things those women could do with their hands. The same grandmother who split the money into envelopes on Friday also knew how to break a fever without a doctor, keep food through a whole winter without a refrigerator, and hold a house together with what we'd throw out today. There were 25 survival skills that kept a home standing, and hardly any of them get taught anymore. Most are fading with the generation that still remembers them. Before they're gone for good, they're gathered in the video on your screen right now. Open it tonight. It's the one that comes after this.